Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. In today's video, we are going to be talking about all things banking accounts, checking accounts, savings accounts, and even credit card accounts. So if that is of interest to you, then please keep watching. Okay, so this all stemmed from Instagram, so I'm going to try to answer many of the questions that I had over on Instagram, and then of course I'm going to do like a little Q&A at the end of this video. So let's go ahead and talk about the many accounts that we have. So first, let's talk about our main account. Now this main account came about before we even got married. I think when we were engaged, we went ahead and we opened this account. This was like step one into transitioning into our very traditional marriage and very traditional way of managing or viewing finances. So that's one of the first things that we did. We went our separate ways with the bank accounts that we had, which were different, and then we joined a new bank. And we wanted to join a bank that was very well known, very popular. This is because we were in a traveling phase at that time, and so it just made sense to go with the bank that would be located in the majority of the major cities and countries. And so that's kind of why we chose the actual bank that we chose. So this particular account that I'm talking about is actually a checking account. And obviously we wanted a checking account so that we could have our income, our paychecks deposited into the account. We would have debit cards attached to the account, so on and so forth. But we didn't really need a savings account at that time, so we just opened a checking account. And as far as fees, which I want to touch on because I feel like I want to touch on it because I think there's a misconception that banks don't have fees associated with them, or maybe some people think the complete opposite, but there are fees associated with this bank. But as far as us actually using the account every day, every month, we don't have to pay a fee because we meet requirements. So a lot of banks will say if you have a direct deposit over X amount, deposited into the account, then you don't have to pay a fee for having the account. Or if you keep a certain amount of money in the account, you don't have to pay a fee. So I can't remember what our qualifications are, but I'm pretty sure it had to do with a direct deposit. But since we have both of our checks each month deposited into that account, we don't have to pay a fee. So this is a joint account. I'm a card holder, I'm an account holder, my husband's a card holder, my husband's an account holder. This is a joint account, and this is where all the magic happens. We have our paychecks deposited into the account, and it covers all of our expenses. So basically, if none of the other accounts existed, this one would exist. And because that's where our paychecks go, and that's where all of our bills are deducted and all of our expenses, that's where that money comes from, because we pay our bills and expenses from our monthly income. So that's kind of the purpose of that main account. So after we had that account and after we got married, we decided that we wanted another account. Like another savings account, so we can actually separate the money from our main checking account, because we wanted like an out of sight, out of mind type of deal. I just thought that, of course, we could have opened a savings account with our main, as a part of our main bank, but it would have been attached to our checking account. So anytime we would have logged in, we would see how much is in that savings account. So we wanted a more like out of sight, out of mind approach. And it doesn't get any better than a mobile bank. So we went with Ally. Ally is an online bank or a mobile bank. They do not have any sort of branches, so you can't just waltz in there and get a cashier's check or deposit money or withdraw money. So that was super out of sight and super out of mind. Now, we really just wanted the savings account. We didn't want the checking account, but in order to get the savings account, we had to get a checking account. So that is how we ended up with an Ally checking account and an Ally savings account. To date, I can be honest in saying that we don't have any money in that checking account because it doesn't serve any real purpose other than what I'm about to share with you. So because we have the savings account, we actually stopped using Ally for a couple of years, but the cool thing, a new feature that Ally rolled out is this thing called buckets. So basically, if you have your savings account with Ally, you actually are given this ability to open up or to start these things called buckets. And think of buckets as sinking funds. So right now we have 10 buckets. We have like a mini savings account for car maintenance, for holidays and birthdays, and so on and so forth. And so, at this point, we're kind of obsessed with Ally. But here's the cool thing about why the checking account actually does come in handy. So because we have our money in the savings account, when you open up savings accounts, you typically don't get a debit card with it or any kind of checks or anything like that, but we do get all of that with our checking account. So anytime we want to move money from our savings account and be able to use that money in real time, like let's say we're getting our car serviced and we want to use the money from our car car maintenance bucket, all that's required of me is to transfer the money from our savings account, the car maintenance account, which is it's a bucket, but it's a part of the savings account, to our checking account, and then it immediately takes place. And therefore I can go ahead and swipe our card that's attached to that checking account so that everything is copacetic. So in that regard, it just works and operates beautifully. So outside of that, the checking account is pretty much a non-factor. There are times where if we are anticipating an expense, like let's say we're saving up for our car insurance that we pay every 6 months. If we anticipate that, we can go ahead and transfer the money from our Ally savings account to our main checking account. And therefore we can pay the bill like that, which that comes in handy whenever the expense is premeditated. And of course, if we're going to make the payment online, because then we can just use our debit card or, our actual bank account. But other times when we're in a pinch, I guess, we can just transfer the money from Ally savings to checking and then swipe our cards. So as far as fees for having both of these accounts, both of these Ally accounts, we don't have to pay any fees because there are no fees. So that's why it was pretty much a no-brainer to open up said accounts. Okay, so next up, the next account that we have is we joined a credit union. And so that account is where we house large amounts of money. The reason why we feel safe with housing larger amounts of money in the credit union account is because we don't have any bills attached to that account. We don't have any paychecks going into that account. So essentially no one really knows of the account but us, and nobody can like mess with it. There can't be an accidental transaction that takes place or anything like that, because it's even further out of sight, out of mind to the entire world. So that's why we have the credit union, which, I don't know if you know a lot about credit unions, but we also don't have to pay any fee to have that account. If I haven't mentioned it already, all of the accounts that I just shared are joint accounts. So I'm an account holder and my husband is an account holder. So if you add up all of that, we have 2 checking accounts and 2 savings accounts, which I don't think is super bad, because I do know people who have less accounts and people who have even more accounts, but I just feel like that's a sweet spot, and each account does actually serve a purpose. We don't just have a bunch of random accounts that we don't need. In addition, we do have a business checking and a business savings. I don't really have to elaborate on that. Those accounts are in my name, of course. And for the business checking, all of our business income goes into that account. And then when I pay myself a salary, I pay it from that account and I deposit it into our main checking account. That's how that works. So all business income goes into the business checking, and then for the savings that I do for the business, because, taxes and so on and so forth, I put that in the business savings account. If it's like a large amount of money, like this past January, we had to pay it was a lot. So we had to pay like $15,000 for our taxes. And so those types of large amounts of money do typically reside in our credit union because it's just safe and secure. So let's talk about these credit cards now. So a couple of years ago, I thought that I would, kind of dive back into the world of general credit card spending. And so the reason why I did so is because this card allowed cash back on every single purchase. And I can just tell you from experience, at the end of the month, typically I have a couple $100s of interest that I have earned, or cash back that I have earned, because of our just regular swiping of the credit card. So that's kind of the focus or the purpose of that credit card. And then my husband does have a card too, because I added him to the account. But technically the card is mine and I manage all of our finances, but I especially manage that credit card. Now, our monthly bills don't come from this credit card account, but we do spending here or there. Sometimes, like we even, back when we bought our car last year, we actually were able to swipe our credit card to pay our down payment, and then we just paid that off, obviously, because that's a lot of money. That was a whole bunch of money. That was a 5-figure number. And so it was cool that we could use our credit card because, as you can imagine, we got a lot of cash back. But we normally don't have any major huge expenses like that take place, but we did have that, so that was cool. But anyway, we get cash back on every single purchase, and we also have other perks and benefits with having that card. So if we use the credit card instead of using our debit card, then we just pay off the credit card either on immediately or a weekly basis or even a monthly basis. You always want to pay off your credit card before the due date so you don't have to pay interest if you're going to pay it off in full, of course. And to have this credit card, I do not have to pay an annual fee, so that's one of the perks. Now, our next credit card is actually my husband's credit card. He has had this credit card for longer than we've been married, so for a decent amount of time, and we only make one transaction using that credit card per month just to keep it up and running, because if you don't use your credit cards, they'll likely get closed automatically. So we make one transaction per month, is one bill for $14, and then it also automatically pays itself off each month as well. So that's the purpose of that account. My name's not on it. It's his. It's always been his. We pretty much just use it because we pretty much just have it, because if we close it, his credit is going to take a drastic hit. But to have this credit card, we do have to pay $25 per year. So there is an annual fee. We don't really have any perks or points or anything that kind of justify this fee, but he's just had it for so long, so we just keep it. Next up, we have Best Buy. I have had a Best Buy credit card for like 10 years. It does not have a balance. I do use it probably once a year. I make a small purchase so that the credit card stays active. I do get points. There are perks to it. When we bought sometimes when I buy camera equipment or some kind of large purchase that I can make from Best Buy, I will go ahead and use it so I can get points and perks. But otherwise, because I don't buy a lot of things, I think I maybe purchased my iPad with that card. Maybe. I don't know, because sometimes I get more points by purchasing something with my main credit card. So I have to kind of weigh the options to see, which one makes the most sense. Because when I get Best Buy points, I can only use those points at Best Buy. But when I get points with my main credit card, I can use those points anywhere. So that's why I always have to weigh the pros and the cons, and I don't make that many purchases with the Best Buy credit card anyway. I do not have to pay an annual fee to have this credit card, so that's one perk. And then lastly, we have an Ashley Furniture credit card. This only came about whenever we moved into this house, and I wanted to surprise my husband with a man cave, and I needed to make a large purchase without him being able to see or to know. So that's why I opened up the credit card. Not really the smartest reason to open up said account, but I really wanted this to be a surprise. I do have a balance. It's about $733 because I also went ahead last year, I think, and put some chairs on the account because it is interest free. So I just make a larger than minimum monthly payment each month to pay off the card. So if I keep going at the rate of $200 per month, I'll have it paid off in September, October, November, I think December. Cool, right before Christmas. So that is the situation with the Ashley Furniture credit card. Okay, so that is the tea on all of our accounts. We do have some other bank accounts that we kind of just opened up willy-nilly, but they're not really serving a purpose right now. They don't have a balance. Like, there's no money in the accounts, so I don't feel like it's worth me talking about them. But we do have like various other little accounts that I should probably close. But each debit card, each bank account just has so many different perks and features and stuff, but we're just not maximizing those right now. So they're a non-factor. In addition to our money being spread in those ways, we do have 8 retirement accounts. 8 different retirement accounts. I should probably do a video on them. I don't think I've talked about them specifically like I'm talking about the accounts right now. So I should probably do a video. But yeah, we do have our money spread pretty far out across a bunch of different retirement accounts and platforms. So let me know if you want me to do a video about that. But now let's go ahead and hop into some of the questions that I got from Instagram. A lot of them I did answer in today's video, but there are a few others that I want to answer today. So let's do that now. Hot topic on the Twitter, joint account or no? I think I just answered that question, but for clarity, all joint everything. So everything that we have is joint. The only thing that we don't have that is joint is my husband's credit card, and then the car that my husband drives, which is the car that I bought before we got married. So only my name is on that car. Otherwise, everything else is joint. We don't bend over backwards to make everything joint, but everything great I feel like that we've done in life outside of getting our educations, we've done, well, technically we've done that together too, but like taking away that, everything else that we've done remotely great, we've been able to do together because we have joint finances and joint goals and all of that. So for us, everything is joint. We don't bend over backwards to make this happen, but you know, our first house is in both of our names. The first car we bought together is in both of our names, so on and so forth. However, I do have my own account technically because I have a business checking and a business savings. So that's one thing that isn't joint, but that's only because it can't be joint. If it could be joint, it would be joint. If I moved it, it could be joint, but we're not doing all that. So yeah, pretty much I stand with joint everything. I can't even believe, I don't get on Twitter, but I can't believe that's a hot topic and that's a conversation. I guess some people feel strongly about it. I don't know that I feel strongly one way or the other. Our marriage is pretty traditional, but it's not like, you know, we have to be attached at the hip doing every single thing together. That's not how we do. But anyway, for us, all join everything. Would you recommend an HYSA, which is a high yield savings account? Yes, because Ally is technically a high yield savings account. I did not mention this earlier, but that's one of the perks of having Ally is that we do earn money, interest, cash money, each month on the amount that's in our savings account. So that's one of the reasons that drew us to opening our Ally accounts, especially the savings account, but truthfully, we probably would have done it even if it wasn't a high yield savings account. So the last question that I'm going to answer that I don't feel like that I already answered and that isn't related to anything that I just talked about, well, two questions. Well, they're kind of the same. They're about EveryDollar. So we use the EveryDollar app. We've been using it for the entirety of our marriage, and we use that to track our income and our expenses. And we have been doing that every single month for 5+ years. Is EveryDollar where you track most of your spending, and is that tracking daily or weekly? We track all of our spending there, and we track it daily or every other day. I could not fathom tracking our expenses weekly. I feel like between our income and expenses, just tracking the transactions in general, we would have so many at the end of each week, but at the end of each day, we don't have that many, maybe one or two. And then if we only have a couple, I'll just wait and do it the next day when we get a couple more. So I don't really go longer than, like, if basically when we have like 5 transactions, that's when I'll go ahead and track them. Another question is EveryDollar linked to our account, or do we input the transactions? I input every transaction manually. You can pay for the paid version and it'll auto populate. You can link your bank accounts and then it'll automatically kind of bring over the transactions, but I'm not paying for it. So I have the free version, which means I have to input them. Okay, you guys, so that is it for today's video. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns down in the comment section, and I will catch you guys right back here in a few days in a brand new video. Bye, guys.